The dirty Jersey, also known as the armpit of America, pretty much just a toxic waste dump packed with mobsters, highways, and people who can't pump their own gas, right? If you live in New York and are ready to make the move to the suburbs, or if you already live here in New Jersey and are ready to make the trade up to a bigger house, stay tuned because we're going to cover one of the best values within an hour of Manhattan. If you're thinking, great, another person who downloaded a local guide and is spewing information about a place they don't know, what I'm going to share with you today is coming from a local. Come with me as I give you a behind-the-scenes look of what it's like moving to and living in Colts Neck. Is it all gorgeous horse farms and beautiful mansions? Can I go to the local bar and grab a beer with Bruce Springsteen? We'll get into all that today, but if there's a question that I don't answer that you have, drop it in the comments and I will personally respond to you. And make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to share with you one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my 15 years as a realtor, and it happens to be here in Colts Neck. When we moved to Colts Neck, we chose this town over other towns because of the school district. Colts Neck schools are amongst the top, not just in Monmouth County, but the entire state, which is really impressive considering New Jersey is ranked number 1 for education in the country. I was drawn to Colts Neck because the properties were larger and more spread out than the other towns that my wife and I were looking to move to. And for the same price, the taxes in Colts Neck seemed lower. Growing up in Bergen County, where I did, is a lot like living in one of New York's 5 boroughs. Space is tight, it's not cheap, and traffic's a pain in the butt. So, the average house being on over an acre and not needing to send my kids to private school was a perfect fit for us. We'll get to the real estate info in a bit, but let's talk about what it's like to actually live in the town, because you don't make a decision just based on math. You have to connect with the town and its people. Whether you're a history buff or not, Colts Neck has some fascinating origins that actually led to my favorite meal in town. Colts Neck was originally part of what was called Atlantic Township and dates all the way back to the American Revolution. One of the most popular restaurants in town is Huddy's, named after Joshua Huddy, who was an American Revolutionary War captain who, after his death, his wife set up the Colts Neck Inn, which is still in operation today. Although the Colts Neck Inn serves a great steak, my personal favorite is the Greek salad. I know it's not sexy, but if you're a Greek salad fan, trust me, this is the best I've ever had, and I order them everywhere. Colts Neck's still a relatively small town and has a really small business district as well. You can find a bagel store, a pizzeria, banks, bars, basically just the necessities. You won't find a big grocery store or many brand names, but what we do have is delicious orchards. This local grocery store and farmers market draws people from all over the tri-state area in the fall for its famous cider donuts and pies. But for us locals, we tend to stay away from it on the weekends. It just gets too busy. But during the week, we'll stop in there for some great local produce or prepared foods. Then for the rest of our staples and name brand items, the stuff with chemicals and added sugar, we'll head over to Acme and Lincroft or the Manalapan Wegmans. Over the past 8 to 10 years, we've had some amazing young entrepreneurs bring their establishments and their great energy to the town of Colts Neck. Not to be missed, number 1, Rook Coffee. Number 2, Poncho, think great burritos. And number 3, the French Market, think little Parisian cafe. But Colts Neck has a rich history in spirits too. Laird Distillery is the longest operating distillery in the entire country. Make sure you try their apple brandy, which is for sale not just at the local liquor stores, but also at the local bars. And carrying on that great history of spirits, there are 2 great new bar options in town too, the Colts Neck Stillhouse and Source Brewery, which is known for dropping a new beer every week. These can be a great spot for you to unwind after a long round of golf at one of the town's 5 golf courses. You can play Hominy Hill, which is one of the best public county courses in the entire state, all the way up to Due Process, which is one of the most elite country clubs in the entire country. We'll commonly see athletes and celebrities helicoptering into the club to play a round of golf. Trump National is also in town and a great country club option for you if Due Process isn't in the math. Speaking of math, let's briefly touch on schools. There is 1 primary school, which is K through 2, 1 elementary school, which is 3 through 5, 1 middle school, which is grades 6 through 8, and a regional high school. Everyone who lives in Colts Neck is automatically districted to Colts Neck High School, unless you opt into one of the specialty learning academies at the other regional high schools, which include the law program, the business school, and the animal and botanical sciences, amongst others. That said, 35 to 40% of kids in town do go to private school at some point, whether that means starting high school at Red Bank Catholic, St. John Vianney, or Christian Brothers Academy, or starting out in kindergarten at private school at Ranney, Rumson Country Day, St. Leo the Great, or the Oak Hill Academy. But you don't have to go private to get a great education, because the public schools here are phenomenal. Side note, and I'm not going to embarrass my kids here on video, but the educational experiences of both of our kids is the #1 reason why we've chosen to stay in town and buy our 3rd house here. So if you want my anecdotal experience, send me a DM and I'll answer those questions for you offline. So what does it cost to live in this phenomenal place? Well, it's not cheap, but nothing great is. The average home in town costs about $1.3 million, and that'll buy you a 3,500 square foot home built in the mid-1990s. If $1.3 million isn't in the cards for you, there are many other great options too. A lot of young families will focus on a development called the Grand, which is 180 houses, roughly 2,200 square feet that sell between $500,000 and $700,000. And plenty of people buy there and stay there forever, or they upgrade as their needs and the size of their family grows. If your budget suits and you're looking for something more grand and more spacious, there are properties over $20 million in town. And if you're thinking what could possibly justify a $20 million price tag, most of those homes have private stables and horse barns. That's because Colts Neck was and still remains to be primarily an equestrian town. See, a lot of the thoroughbred horses that raced in the Kentucky Derby over the last 50 years were actually trained here. So if you're a horse lover, there's plenty of stables in town you can board your own horse or take lessons if you like. But unlike a lot of other towns, not only is it legal to keep a horse on your property here in town, it's actually legal to ride your horse through town. I remember being so confused the first time I saw somebody riding a horse at me on Cedar Drive. Pretty cool though. Property taxes here are a plus too compared to neighboring towns. For example, in 2021, the property tax rate in Colts Neck was 1.749% compared to 2% in Middletown and 2% in Homedale. That's a 15% savings. One of the reasons for that savings is that the town does not have public water and public sewer. That means nearly every property in town has well and septic. And before you go letting that turn you off, make sure to watch our video on why septic can actually be a positive. And one of the craziest things about this town is you can be surrounded by horses and be at the beach in less than 20 minutes. But that doesn't even compare to the craziest thing I've ever seen in real estate. Make sure to check out our next video about a Colts Neck house that has a 100-foot long water slide, one with a pool and a lazy river, and an indoor hockey rink. If I've convinced you to consider Colts Neck for your next home, check out the link below for more information on me and the 10 Hove Realty Group and how we can help you make that move. Hope to see you there.